Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the board meeting for January 23rd, or I'm sorry, for February 27th. I'm on the wrong month,
Hey, man.
2024.
That was last month, yeah.
Yeah.
Already.
So just quick roll call. We did it off camera. I wanted to make sure we do it. We got Chief Ryan Hawk in the room. We have Amy on the phone. I'm here. We have Jack in the room. We have Rita on the phone. We have Falco on the phone. We have Matt Shipley on the phone. David Smith on the phone. Joe Wall in the room. Cynthia, we haven't seen her quite yet.
I would say that they were on Zoom, not on the phone, but yeah, that we're not taking those down as the meeting minutes.
Right. As far as a reminder, Mr. Joe Wall is now the new town council liaison between the personnel board and the council. Mr. Jack Casey is now the alternate town council liaison. As we move forward, as far as for today, want to call for public comments on any agenda items. Do we have anybody from the public on right now?
I see nobody.
Okay. Do we have to call a motion to proceed to the next item if there's nobody on, or can we just move on, Falco? I'm not familiar with the rules on that one.
You can just move on.
Okay, perfect. Next one is approval of previous meeting minutes from January 23rd, 2024. I know we had some back and forth as far as some cleanup on that over the last couple of weeks. I think everybody had a chance to opine upon that as far as via email. So I'll open it up to the group. Is there a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
There's two items that I see that that may not be accurate. One is that at the bottom it says that the next personnel meeting will be Tuesday, February 28th. Today's the 27th, not a big deal. The other one is that I do believe that the terms are 3 years, not 2-year terms. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Yep, that's correct. So Mr. Shipley are stayed for another 3-year term. Rita's term expires June 2024. It's accurate. David's term expires 2024. Bradley Kaiser's term expires December 2024. David, can you confirm, is it 2024 for yours?
I believe so. I'm not positive because I think I was appointed. It was just last year.
That been 2022 or 2023? You're appointed 2022, right?
We staged some because we increased the size of the board. So I'm checking online to see.
Okay.
Yeah, the size of the board increased. It was
That's 2025 as well.
yeah, so I'm not sure how that worked when they increased the size of the board. So I think
I'll let you know in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. It
Jack's
should be somewhere in the
checking.
town records.
The website says 2024 for David.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't appointed until 2023, but I think it was kind of supposed to be in 2022, but expanding the board kind of threw that all off. So that makes sense.
Okay. With these changes, are we comfortable as far as approving the minutes?
Motion to approve
There's a motion on the
Second.
floor.
with the
Second?
changes. Mhm.
Yeah, I'll second with those changes.
Okay. Everyone vote ayes.
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose. Okay, motion carries. All right. On to new business. So first, starting with new business, I'm going to turn to Joe Wall, Councilman Joe Wall, as far as to give us a brief of some of the activities that are happening in the background for our group, and then we'll move from there.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. I was really impressed with what we've done to, I guess, modernize the questions and the criteria by which we are going to start interviewing from a new list. Today, we're gonna ask you to put into play or to approve the process by advertising for new patrolmen in the town of McCandless. In addition to that, what I would like to do is ask this board, because we don't only have openings for patrolmen, but we are going to have openings, anticipated openings for sergeants and lieutenants. I would like this board to start looking at the competitive test questions similar to how you did with the patrol officers. And I want to have a full upgrade of the process by which we do promotions for both sergeants and lieutenants. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Wall. So to the team, we have a task at hand as far as, I know we talked about this briefly, both in our stated meeting as well as in an executive session. We want to get prepared as far as for the advertisement piece. So I'd like to ask if there's anybody who would like to put forward a motion as far as to authorize advertising to begin as far as for the open positions that we have here in the police department.
Do we have an ad ready to go?
Yes, we do. It was, you guys had a chance to look at it in our last meeting.
And I can have Brian distribute that as far as to us. But just to give some background right now, so Northern Regional is just opened up. 8 more police officers are going to be available. There's other communities that are around us that are actively and aggressively going after police officers to the point where we may see them dipping into other police department areas to introduce themselves, have those conversations. And I know we've had the conversations as far as we have some at-risk officers as it pertains to retirements, but not just retirements. We have some officers that may go to other opportunities if they present themselves and seem to be a better fit for them. So we want to try to mitigate that as best as possible. So one way in which we can do that is by,
Excuse me 1 second, Mr. O'Malley.
Yes.
Would you please provide us with a copy of the advertisement that the board would vote on to approve to go out?
okay. Thank you.
I mean, do you need the text of it?
That's all.
Just like the one sheeter as far as like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want to be able to read it off so everybody understands. what's
Okay.
going on.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. And so in order to stay competitive and make sure that we're addressing this in the quickest time period possible, this is why we would want to offer the advertising sooner than later. That would get people aware. I can tell you I was in zone 2 weeks ago as far as those reviewing the brand new substation they had down there. And there's a few people that had mentioned as far as, you know, hey, where you from? And I told them a little bit about where we are. There's interest there, but the interest is, you know, I want to see something that's actually available. I don't want to hear rumor by mouth. I actually want to see it's advertised because I want to be certain if I'm going to be actively looking, I want to make sure the opportunity really does exist. And I get it. Makes sense, right? You don't post for a job that's not posted. So once Brian provides as far as that text, we can read over that. So I'm going to ask the board, would you rather wait to see the body of the text, or would you rather vote and make a motion now as far as to move forward with advertising? Keeping in mind,
Has it been jazzed up a little?
Yeah, it has been. Rita.
Okay. I saw something that was not real appealing, so I'm hoping that it's more appealing. I'd be
Yeah.
fine with saying go for it.
Yeah, and it has the new, it has that new listing of criteria, right? Or requirements, I mean,
888-13.
right?
Thanks and have a great day.
Hello?
believe so. I'm looking right now to see if it's come through.
Oh, sorry, we heard like a voicemail or something.
Yeah,
that's-
I heard that too.
Yeah, that's not on our end.
So one moment.
And
I
then just.
would like to see,
Oh,
oh, sorry, I'm in favor of posting it as soon as possible, but if I missed something, my apologies. I'm with Rita. I'd like to see kind of the newer version. and just make sure that it sounds attractive. You know, I'm in HR and we try to write the postings in a way that, are like, what's in it for you to come to McCandless? And so I would like to read it first, I guess, to answer your question, Justin,
Okay,
or hear it.
I think the biggest thing that what we need to do. I mean, certainly we all agree that it's got to be appealing. But I think the biggest thing is that we get the advertisement out.
so.
Can you share it with us on based
Yeah,
on, yeah,
we're
on the
Trying to
site?
do that now.
Mr.
Okay.
O'Malley's bringing that out. for
Yeah.
us.
What I'll do is, as soon as he sends it, I'll share it on screen with everyone. That way we can talk about it.
I can tell you that it's his desire to try to get 40 applicants, so they're gonna increase the net that they cast. And
It's
they're,
gonna go to a lot of different
Target.
venues and a lot of different targets.
What do you want to proceed with the other business and while we're waiting so that
Yes.
we can
I
get,
don't know that there's a whole lot of other.
Yeah, there's really not too much to talk about other than, I do want to make everyone aware as far as, I talked to Chief Harpster this morning. I know we were talking about as far as SROs and understanding when they may or may not come back. Based off my conversation with Chief Harpster from North Allegheny School District, it appears we probably wouldn't be getting them back until the end of the school year at the earliest, potentially as late as September 1st. It depends on a few factors. Depends on whether or not he's able to get those officers in place and the order of operations in which they're going to place them. There was initial discussion, I know, through the superintendent of keeping our SROs on duty there, and they would be the last to go, but that may have changed. So it's going to be a little fluid between now and end of the year. We'll have a better sense of that probably by going into May and June. So I'll be able to share that update. Also, as far as just talking about the duties in which that school district police are gonna pursue. Chief, I'm not sure if you have any updates as far as last I heard, anything above a summary offense, they were not gonna pursue. Do we know if anything's changed on their side at this point?
I don't believe there's been any changes yet. In discussions I had with superintendent and the police chief there now, their goal would be once they get the force on the ground and the program underway, they will look at,
Expanding the duties.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I can tell you for one, and I'll go on record by saying this. If North Allegheny is going to have a school district police department, it shouldn't be for the masquerade party that's gonna happen in October. Yeah, I don't like the fact that North Allegheny is going to police the school district. And then when it comes to dealing with adjudication and paying overtime for police to attend court hearings and to transport potential criminals, that they're going to rely on the town of McCandless. Now, if we're gonna have a police force in the school district, they should be a police force. They should rely less on the town of McCandless, because you're talking about not only the town of McCandless, you're talking about northern area and you're talking about Franklin Park. And my understanding after talking with some of the leaders in those other municipalities, that they're not too crazy about the way this is being rolled out.
I second that. I've had my reservations with the school police force kind of from the beginning, but you know, that's a decision that's not at my level to make. But I completely agree with you, Mr. Wall, where if they're going to have a police force, it needs to be a police force. It can't just be a half attempt at a police force. Relying on municipalities, officers to backfill what they are unable to handle. And related to that, which I was actually going to mention before you mentioned that, is I think we also need to give them a date certain or at least a notice period to say, look, if we don't hear from you by X date, we get our SROs back on the date that we pick.
I can explain how that works because we have a contract and a memo of understanding with the North Allegheny School District. And essentially what it does is it gives them 180 days.
Okay,
Okay, so if we're at 180 days, we're at August 1st right now.
right. Okay, I didn't realize that existed because it sounded like it was more up in the air. But as long as that's in place, I'm fine, as long as the school district doesn't expect on August 1st to say, you don't really need 180 days notice. I mean, we got to hold them to that notice.
Well,
Is my
Dave-
point.
Dave, to your point is we've had discussions with the school district. And we're trying to get the SROs back as quickly as possible because we have our own manpower issues here in the town of McCampbell.
Exactly. And
So
we need to be able to plan and staff and know who's available and who's not. And it can't be at the whim of the school district.
I agree.
They've made their decision to have a police force.
Right.
They now have to live with their decision, even if it's a little bit harder than they might have thought it was when they had the brilliant idea to do it.
Well, my understanding is that originally they were going to leave our SROs in place and they were going to start hiring at the elementary schools. Since Chief Hawk has had that discussion and Justin and we've all had discussions with the school district. They're going to start their hiring process at the high school and the intermediate school, which would free up the SROs to come back. So while that may not happen as quickly as we would like, they are moving in a cooperative direction with what we've asked them to do.
And to the
That's good.
point,
That's encouraging.
yeah, tomorrow they're having their, I believe it's the first board interviews with all those folks. So it's definitely moving forward. They're starting on 4 or 5. Whoever's qualified based off that interview list, they're going to continue to move on, but they're going to interview in phases. So they'll bring in 4 or 5. They're going to wait a while, do what they need to do as far as to train and develop their folks, get them situated. There's going to be shadowing with our SROs as far as to get them used to what the school district looks like, and then we'll go through another phase. So it is encouraging. I'm sorry, Rita, you looks like you had a question.
Yeah, and just a question, if they say police force, then they should be police officers. If it's not a police officer, what is it? I've talked to a lot of
It's a
districts.
security guard.
Yeah, it's
Security
an armed
guards,
security guard
okay.
at that point.
Okay, so at the elementary, I would think that would be enough to have a security guard. I mean, I don't know. It's just something that makes sense to
They've
me.
been certified by the state, Rita, been certified by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as a police force.
Hmm.
So whomever they bring on, and they have a police chief that was sworn in. So my understanding is that everybody that they bring in is going to be a police officer.
Hmm.
And everybody
Okay,
that
good to
they're
know.
interviewing to this point are retired police officers or county police or sheriffs or state patrolmen.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, I'd like to back up to the point of transport. You can't transport if you don't have a vehicle.
They have a vehicle.
I was gonna say,
They actually purchased a vehicle.
because it takes a year to get a vehicle anymore,
Well, no, they have a
unless they buy a
vehicle.
used one.
They bought one off the lot. I believe they bought the one that we didn't buy from Shorkey.
Okay,
So they bought an Interceptor, a Ford Interceptor.
good.
That is a police vehicle for North Allegheny School District.
And they're also moving towards, so the chief right now has that vehicle. They're also in the process of reviewing, and they're going to buy a second vehicle, and that second vehicle is going to be for a rover. So they're going to have essentially, you're going to have a chief, you're going to have an officer at each school, so it's 12 officers, then you're going to have a rover. So you're going to have 13 officers in total. And to Councilman Wall's point, they need to be a police force, not a security force, right?
Absolutely.
So.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm fine cooperating with the school district. I don't want to be antagonistic, but at the same time, there are certain ramifications for them having their own police force that from our end should be freeing up our resources. And,
David,
that's all
I'm
part
with
of the
you
deal.
100%. I'm with you 100%. And my biggest concern is the way that this has been rolled out. You know, our police force and our resources are going to be spent in court. Every time somebody's got to go to court, it's overtime. I'm not going down that road. I think that since North Allegheny has been certified by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they have a sworn-in chief who is making on par what the chief of police is in Franklin Park, northern area, and McCandless. They're a police force. So they need to have arrest powers. I don't want them handing out detentions. I want them policing the schools. If there's an active shooter, the problem is when we've had active shooter situations, you have a school district force and you have a local police force. And what has happened in a variety of different places is the school police force hasn't been recognized as a police force, even though they are. And what happens is the school police force is not willing to dive in and take control of the situation. So there are precious minutes that are lost. And I think what we need to do is we need to determine, and we need to delineate with the school district. And Ryan, you and I had this conversation. There has to be a meeting between McCandless, northern area, Franklin Park, and the school district. And everybody's got to understand what their roles are. Otherwise, this is going to be an absolute circus.
Well, I would assume that, being a police force, I would assume that they would have, manuals on responding to different situations. So to me, all of that should be spelled out in their manuals as to, Joe, to use the example you used, if there's an active shooter situation, their police force needs to have their manual as to how to handle that.
So to your
Because you're
point,
right,
David,
we can't lose minutes because the school police force doesn't want to dive into it and they're waiting for, that's the whole reason why there's, not that particular instance is the only reason, but that's the type of reason why there's an SRO there to begin with,
And
is to have an immediate response.
Yeah, but here's another point that I want to make too. I don't want the superintendent of schools being the superintendent of police. Okay, he's an educator. He's not a law enforcement individual.
Yeah,
Okay? If there is a law that's broken, the police need to make sure that that law needs to be attended to and not swept under the rug either. Because that has happened in the North Allegheny School District as well.
and David, to your point, as far as there should be policy procedure, some sort of documentation as far as spelling it out, unfortunately, it doesn't exist. So what they get is they get their police training, right? They have some general policies, but they don't have a setup out of the box. Here's your incident command template. That doesn't exist. That's the reason why Councilman Walls and Chief Hawk were discussing, and Chief will have to work with the North Allegheny School District Police Chief. They'll have to establish that, and that's going to take time, training. And I can tell you, as far as from a policy perspective, they're just starting the point of being able to start writing policies. I actually had that exact conversation with Chief Harpster this morning. They just got access to the computer application, the software application that allows him to write policy and have it reviewed and all those fun things. So it's going to be a lengthy process. I think Chief Harpster, quite frankly, is a little new in that space. So there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. But the good news about that is we have great supportive partners. So we have Chief Hawk, we have Northern Regional, we have all those places that are eager and want to help them. So I think that could work to our benefit in establishing that, but we just have to catch it early and work.
And that's I understand there'll be a transition period, but if they're going to be a police force, that all has to be coming. And Joe, you are reciting every concern that I stated when I first learned that the school district wanted to have their own police force. I
You know
had
what,
the
Dave?
exact same
I'm all-
concerns that you do.
I'm all for them having a police force. If that's the way that they feel that they need to, and you know what, a lot of people are gonna feel safer because they're gonna have people in every one of the schools. I applaud them for doing it. But if you're gonna do it, you need to do it all the way.
Yep, gotta
Okay.
do it right.
So I mean, I don't want this to be a masquerade.
Yeah.
If they're gonna be a police force, they need to be a police force.
So switching gears, I'm gonna suggest we consider voting on just pursuing advertising so we can move forward. We can review and approve as far as the document once it becomes available to us from Brian O'Malley. We just need to get the approval that we can move forward with it. And Falco, does that sound appropriate? As far as
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, though, I think we're in the same position we were last month, where we're gonna need the motion to add it to the agenda.
Falco, it sounds like you're underwater.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I can hear him. I'll move to add to the agenda an item to consider a motion to advertise a position. Is that a
I'll second
sufficient
it.
motion, Falco?
Yes, and the reason would be because we're just being requested by the town to do that. So that'll be the stated reason in the minute.
Okay.
Okay.
And Matt
So-
seconded.
There's a motion, seconded. All right. Vote, ayes,
Aye.
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 nays. Motion carries.
Okay, so that adds it to the agenda.
Yep.
And then we need a second motion. So I'll move to advertise for officer positions as we've discussed, subject to informal review of the actual ad before it goes out.
I'll second that.
Okay. The vote? Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
oppose? Motion carries. Fantastic. All right, thank you for your cooperation and flexibility on that one. So as we get that, we'll make sure we circulate, we'll make edits, we'll opine upon it and move forward. All right.
Chairman,
Yes.
may I suggest
Yes.
an executive session to go over the processes and procedures for promotions for both the sergeants and the lieutenant positions in the town of McCandless.
Yep. So there's a motion to add an agenda item to discuss and vote on having another executive session, much like we had for the patrolman test. This one's for the sergeants and promotions, where we'd review the materials, we would refresh them, and this would be an executive session. And then we would get those materials back out to the chief as far as for review and final disposition.
Well, we wouldn't need to add that to the agenda. You just need to announce or select the date that you're going to have the executive session.
Okay. I heard half of that, so I heard we have to add to agenda.
No, you don't have to.
No, we do not.
We don't.
You-
We just
you
need to
have-
set a date.
Right,
Okay,
Yeah, just
You can
have
do
to
it before or
announce
after a
when the
or you
meeting
can have a
is.
special date.
actually, I'd prefer to get it done.
do we have availability anytime within the next week?
I'm
And
good next Wednesday.
next Wednesday at 5 o'clock, does anybody have availability for that period of time?
I do not.
You do not? Okay,
I can do next Tuesday at 5.
Tuesday at 5? Rita, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let me check my,
I ask you folks, if it's anytime next week, I might need an alternate host. I'm in training outside the work stream.
Okay,
that's fine. So we can catch you up.
Awesome.
Yep.
I just need somebody to run the show and I think
Yep.
I have plenty of good.
No problem.
Are the materials available online for that? I mean, we don't have the questions, 'cause, I mean, I don't. I've
no,
never-
what I would suggest is that we do similarly to how we did it before. Either we come in here and you get them in paper or we review them online.
So what I can do is I can pull them, I'll get them from chief over this next couple days. much like how we did last time, then I'll throw them into a Word document. We'll move piece by piece and crank through it.
Thank
All
you.
right, Rita, you're available.
Tuesday
Dave.
or Wednesday. Mhm.
Okay. Dave, how do you look on Tuesday of next week on 5 PM?
I can, on Tuesday, I can make it
Yep.
on Tuesday at 5.
Okay, Amy,
Yeah,
you're,
I can make it on Tuesday. I think, we'll have to figure out a way to get Chief Hawk's input into this, because I think it's probably even more important for the promotions than it is for the hiring.
I would suggest that if the chairman has any objection, he can confab with Chief Hawk by himself and come up with whatever input that needs to happen prior to the executive session of the board.
yeah, I can pull that together whenever I pull the documentation.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
Okay,
For that matter, you could just do it electronically with everybody.
yeah, and that's probably how they'll end up shaking out. So I'll provide the documentation as much in advance as I possibly can, at least 24 to 48 hours. Give you an opportunity to at least look at it. So Rita, you're good. Amy, you're good. Dave, you're good. Matt, how you looking on Tuesday at
Thank you
5?
very much.
Yeah, Tuesday is okay. It's not the
Okay.
greatest, but it's okay.
All right, Matt, I appreciate that. Thanks for your flexibility.
Justin,
Thank you.
that's the ad.
Okay.
Here is the ad. They actually did a nice job.
Let's see.
There you go.
All right, thank you. All right, I will get electronic copies of this for everyone. So I'm not gonna hold it up to the camera. It looks better. I can tell you that. So I think we rest a little easier on that one. All right, so we're looking at next Tuesday, which is, get on calendar.
I believe it's the
The
5th.
March 5th.
fifth, right?
It is the 5th.
All right, so you'll please look for that calendar invite in the next 24 hours. At 5 PM. I'm gonna make it for a 2-hour session. We're not gonna go 2 hours. We'll probably go an hour because hopefully, much like how we went last time, we'll do the pre-work ahead of time. We'll crank through it and then refresh it, okay? All right, I'll get with Chief Hawk.
Thank you, everybody.
All right,
I really
anything-
appreciate your attention to this.
Any other new business? Okay. Public comments. Do we have anybody from the public on?
No, sir.
All right. Cynthia, thanks for popping on. Apologies. I'm sure you're playing catch up on that a little bit.
No worries. Thank you.
Sure. All right.
Justin, at the executive session, will we also swing back to the subject of the previous executive session? Or
Yeah.
is that kind of on a separate track?
What I'll do is later this week, I'll send out that documentation. I have it almost completely cleaned up. Send that out as far as based off the feedback we had, so we can take a final look at that. And we could probably open up the next session just with quick questions.
Approval.
5 minutes, yeah, approve it essentially, and then move on.
Okay.
Good
And-
question.
You know what, before we adjourn, I guess this would be new business, but it's really more a question to make sure our ducks are in a row. If I remember right, our current certified list expires at the end of March. Do we,
Let me explain that town council has extinguished. the
oh,
list.
okay,
Okay, so we are moving forward with a new list.
oh, okay, so no reason to extend it, you've already
No,
extinguished
no
it,
reason to extend it.
okay. That answers my question.
All right. Okay, motion to adjourn?
So
I make a motion, but can you stay on for a minute, Justin? I have a question for you after the meeting.
Sure, actually, give me a call if that's okay. Or I can
Okay.
give you a call. Okay.
Thanks.
All
It's
right.
it's just about the police force in the city and what they're doing. I have friends that
Oh,
are
sure.
involved in that. I wondered
Yeah,
what you
actually-
thought about it. Yeah.
I actually have some great info to share, so yeah.
Okay,
There
great.
you go. All right, so motion to adjourn second.
I second.
All right. Vote aye.
Bye,
Aye.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
thanks, all.